When we talk of R of O versus C of O, I'm not talking about fake versus real. No, I'm talking about weak versus strong. It's more like approval versus the formal documentation of that approval. Approval being the R of O, while the formal documentation of that approval being the C of O. I used to think that R of O and C of O were just different types and different levels of documents in Nigeria. But the more I thought about it, the more I studied it, I find out that it's not that simple. A lot of people think one is weaker and one is stronger. But in reality, it's just more of how the government grants and records your right to land. So I'm going to break it down in three simple analogies. First, think of your driver's license. When you pass your driving test, the government says that you are approved to drive. That approval is like the right of occupancy, the ROV. It's when the government officially gives you permission to drive. Now, but the document, the license card that you physically carry everywhere to show that, okay, yes, I've been approved to drive, is like your certificate of occupancy, the COO. The second analogy is football.
Here's Messi, away from 2, 3, 4.
When the club signs a player, the club has already accepted him. That is like the RFO, the grant, or the right has been granted already. But when the league now registers him and the documentations are done properly, that's the CFO. Everything has been formally documented and organized. The fourth analogy is your NIN slip, and I know that most Nigerians will be familiar with this. When you enroll for your NIN, your identity is captured by the government and verified. So that enrollment process is like your RFO. But when you're not later given your NIN slip or card, that is like your COO, where your identity has been verified that yes, that's the official proof that yes, you're now in the government system. And that's like your COO. So the point is, it's not, when we talk of RFO versus CFO, I'm not talking about fake versus real. No, I'm talking about weak versus strong. It's more like approval versus the formal documentation of that approval. Approval being the RFO, while the formal documentation of that approval being the CFO. So one more thing that you need to know is that, like I always say, document is never enough. Verification still matters. Always try to do your due diligence by verifying.